Hi my dear students, again architect Carlos Eduardo Gamboa is talking to you on this new tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to scale objects using the command scale. In this case we are going to scale this tree. It could be any other object and it could be a block, or as you can see it could be many lines or many objects you want to scale. The next thing we need to know is the height of the object we are going to scale. We have two options. We can measure the height of the object. In this case, we can use the dist command. So we can measure bottom to top the highest point of this tree or this particular object. And as you can see on the command line, you have the distance or the height on the y-axis, which is in this case 1145.12 meters. As you can see, the object is quite big, so we need to scale it. So like we already measured it, is not quite effective, so the other way is to draw a line across all over the object. In this case we're gonna start bottom to top, and I recommend you to use the F8 tool. So you draw a very straight line using the F8 keyboard key, and make sure the line go across the object. It should be a little bigger than the object. So we have the line where we can reference the height of the object. Remember, like when you were on the doctor and the doctor used to measure your height? We are gonna do the same, but in this case with this tree or any other object you could or you want to scale. So the other thing we need to do is to take the height of the object. So like the doctor, we need to take the highest point. In this case is this top of the tree. So we draw a line and make sure it crosses the reference line you already draw. We just established the height of the object all over this reference line, like we already measured. If I measure the object again from the bottom to the top of the reference point, as you can see, we got the same height. In this case was 1145.12 meters. The next thing we need to do is to establish the height of the object for the final scale, or the height we want for this object. In this case we have this tree. Let's say we're going to establish the 12 meters the height of this object. How can we do that? So I recommend you to draw a circle. So we type the shortcut C and we choose as a center the beginning of this reference line. So we establish the center of the circle here, and we type the diameter of the circle, in this case with the height we want. Like we said before, we are going to draw a 12 meter height tree. So we hit enter and we draw the reference circle. Make sure this circle starts at the beginning of the line that references the height of the object, and this line should has an intersection with the object, which is the objective of all the process. If we don't intersect these three objects, the object, the line of reference, and the circle with the final height, we wouldn't be doing this process correctly. Let's hit the escape keyboard key to unselect all the objects, and from now the process is going to be very quick. So the other thing we need to do is to type the shortcut of the command scale. In this case is SC, and we hit the enter key. And as you can see, the crosshair changed from a cross to a pick box. So the next thing we need to do is to select the objects we need to scale. We can use it by picking, by crossing. I recommend you by window. Why by window? Because when you do a selection by window, you could make sure other objects you don't want, like the circle or the reference line, get into the selection. In this case, let's do it like this. And as you can see, we haven't selected neither the circle and the reference line, but we got the height line reference selected. How can we unselect it? We press permanently the shift key and we click on the line we don't want to get into the selection group. Once we have unselect this line, we can hit the right button of the mouse to make enter or press the enter key. After you do that, you need to talk with the command line, and it asks you to specify the base point. This base point would be this first point, which is common between the object, the reference line, and the circle, which indicates the final measure of the object. So we click here, and then the command line shows you two options in this case, or let's say three. Specify the scale factor, copy, or reference. Like we don't know the scale factor or where to copy, we need to use the reference option. So the next step is to type this option, and as you can see, the options shows a capital letter for each word, so you don't have to type the whole word. In this case, the reference option has the capital letter on the R, so we need to type R and hit the enter key. After that, if you talk with the command line, it asks you to specify the reference length. But like we don't know this reference length, we need to select 3 points. So remember, this is very important. You must select 3 points after that. The first point will be the common, the initial point or the common point between the 3 objects. Remember, the object, the reference, and the circle. So this point will be the center of the circle. The second point will be the opposite point, which indicates the total height or the total length of the object you are scaling. In this case, is this intersection. Why don't this point? Because this point is not over the reference line. So we need to establish the height of the object over the reference line. In this case, is this intersection. The third and final point will be the measure we want to get for this object, which is located on this intersection between the circle and the reference line. So this will be the third point. And that's it. We have our object perfectly scaled to the measure we wanted. Finally, we can delete the reference line and the circle, and if we measure the object in the same places, bottom to top, if you see, the height on the y-axis is 12 meters exactly, like we order when we scale this object. The other way to scale an object is indicating the scale factor, but you need to do some mathematics first. like we said that we need a 12-meter height tree, so we need to establish this measure, and this measure will be divided by the real height of the object. So let's say, open the calculator, 12 meters divided on the measure of the object. So let's do it with another tree. We take the distance from the bottom to the top of, or the highest point, and like we said, we have 1145.12 meters. So we're gonna divide by 1145.1204 meters, and we have the scale factor, which is 0.010479, and so on. So let's leave it on 0.010. So we're gonna skip to the scale process. So we type SC, which is the shortcut, hit enter key, we select the objects. So it asks you, specify a base point. I suggest you to use the base of the object, in this case the lower part of the tree, and we type the scale factor, which was 0.010. So let's type 0.010 and hit the enter key. As you can see, we have the same result, but when we measure the object, like the scale factor wasn't so precise, when we measure the tree, we get a height of 11.4512 and not the 12 meters exactly we wanted since the beginning. So this is another way to do it, but the precision is not quite the same of the graphic process like we showed you before. To prove it, I'm gonna measure again the tree, and we have exactly 12 meters height. So I hope this video tutorial will be very helpful for you. We will meet again on the next tutorial. So bye bye. Thank you.
Universidad Santo Tomás, institución sujeta a inspección y vigilancia por el Ministerio de Educación Nacional.